Just a quick update, folks, for people who are joining us. Just having a bit of a technical issue with Councillor Purdy's equipment. We're just waiting for some IT, so we'll be starting the meeting shortly. Thank you. All right, I think we've got our technical issues straightened away. So I guess with the okay from the clerk's office, we shall begin and call the meeting to order. Thank you very much, everybody. My name is Lisa Blackburn, and I'm the chair of Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee. I welcome all of you here this afternoon. And first order of business, is the approval of the November 18th, 2021 minutes. Do we have a mover? We have a mover, Councillor Austin, seconded by Councillor Purdy. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right. The approval of the order of business and the approval of additions and deletions. Do we have any additions or deletions, Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's no requests for additions or deletions through the clerk's office.
All right, thank you very much. I do note that we have several members of the public who have signed up to speak during public participation. So with the indulgence of the committee, I will ask that we move public participation to just after 10.3, just so we don't keep them here hanging on. So if that's okay, so I'll need a motion to move the order of business as amended. Councillor Lovelace, lovely. Councillor Smith seconding. Thank you very much. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, beautiful. Business arising out of the minutes, seeing none. Looking for a call for declaration of conflict of interest. If anybody has a conflict of interest, now is the time to declare it. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 6, motions of reconsideration. There are none. Motions of rescission, there are none. Consideration of deferred business, there is none. Notices of tabled matters, we have none. Moving on to number 10, correspondence, petition, and delegations. Mr. Clerk, sir, do we have any correspondence, petitions, or delegations from the clerk's office?
Thank you, Chair. We have several pieces of correspondence related to item 12.1.2. All of those pieces have been circulated to members of standing committee. All
right, excellent. And no petitions from the clerk's office. Any petitions from the floor? All right, seeing none, then in our amended agenda, we will now move to item 17, public participation. And just a note that any member of the public in attendance or who is registered with the clerk's office can be given 5 minutes to address the topics of interest. We'll call upon you to speak, and we ask that you start by stating your name and the name of the community in which you reside for the record. And we do ask that you keep your comments respectful, on topic, and directed to the chair. So we have 3 people who have registered to speak at this meeting, but I will also call for members from the gallery as well. And we're going to start with Howard Epstein from Halifax, who is joining us this afternoon. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. No stranger to this chamber, indeed.
Except I'm not sure which of these I should take. Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My comments really have to do with an item that is coming up on your agenda, 12.1.2, the proposal with respect to the Halifax Common Master Plan. I'm here on behalf of the Friends of the Halifax Common. For those of you that don't know the organization, it's registered as a society. It has been active for quite a number of years. We maintain a contact list of several thousand people. Its board meets monthly. I should say that its board consists of people who, one is an engineer, one's an architect, one's a lawyer, that would be me. There's a marine geologist, 2 retired professors, and a business owner, all people who are longtime active in participation in local municipal affairs. We're here today, and we have put in a written letter to the committee. I hope all members have had the opportunity to see it. In essence, it asks you not to accept the motion that is before you, but rather to consider something different, that is, instead of recommending to the full council that there be a repeal of the 1994 Halifax Common Plan and adoption of the new master plan, that in fact you defer doing this, that is, defer passing on to the full council the document until there has been the opportunity for some further public consultation with respect to it. There are several reasons for this. It's been quite some time since the last opportunity opportunity for public input to the draft plan in excess of 2 years, and a great deal has happened physically in terms of changes in and around the Common, and of course certain other planning documents have come forward and been adopted, like Centre Plan A and B. So there's been quite a shift, and it would be appropriate in our view first for the public to get the opportunity to consider again their views on how the Common should be dealt with as a planning tool. And it's also quite striking that although the document is dated August, it was not made public, and I think not put even before this committee until just a few days ago. So I don't see that there's been much of an opportunity even for this committee to review it. This is a several hundred-page document, and to adopt it with a recommendation to the full council would give the impression that everyone here had had the opportunity to review it and think about it and consult people in their districts and make a recommendation, positive endorsement to the full council, which I think would not be a correct interpretation, really, of what's going on. There are a couple of inherent problems that we have identified upon our first cursory reading, and the first one actually kind of jumps off the page inherent in the motion itself. The motion that you're being invited to adopt is that this be a guiding document. I have to say, I have no idea what that means. It has no legal status. It's not a statute adopted by the province, nor does it seem to be an amendment to the municipal planning strategy. It seems to be a policy, and policies really have very limited legal status. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the second point that comes in the wording, where it says, refers to the open space planning. The Common, of course, is a very large area that includes area that is not just open space, but space on which there are public buildings, and for some of it, some private buildings, but largely public buildings. But in any event, we're suggesting to you that the Common is an important entity in Halifax. It's one of the handful of physical defining entities of the original city of Halifax and still of HRM, by which I mean the Harbour and the Northwest Arm, the Citadel, and the Common. Those are the physical facts that are so striking about Halifax, and one of the many reasons we love it. And although we appreciate all the work that's gone into this draft plan, it's substantial. I printed a copy, and we're continuing to study it, but I do hope that the committee will take the view that it wouldn't go amiss in terms of service to itself, to the full council, to the public, if it were to simply ask staff to post this document, which it is already, post it and invite further public comments over a period of at least a couple of months before the committee moves ahead with a motion. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. The next two speakers on the list is Alan Ruffman, followed by Tristan Black. So, Mr. Ruffman, you're invited to come on up and grab a microphone here. Good afternoon, sir. If we could just get you to introduce yourself and your community for the record.
Yes, my name is Alan Ruffman, one L and Alan. I live in Ferguson's Cove, have lived in Ferguson's Cove, Purcell's Cove, and Herring Cove for the last 55 years. I ran for council and county council, and unlike Howard, I was unsuccessful twice. I am speaking as a resident who first came to Halifax in 1964 as a graduate student in oceanography. I rented a flat facing the Common, so every day for the next year I walked across part of that Common to get to Dalhousie. At that point, it was just cinders. They still were racing horses around it. And it wasn't until 1967 that the city of Halifax responded to the centennial year, grassed a lot of it, put in ball diamonds, put in washrooms which are never unlocked. And it became a much more central part of the city of Halifax and residents. I have supported the Friends of the Commons for the full time it's been in existence. I feel very strongly that this report needs more time to be looked at, especially in the last, it's been 2.5 years since there's been any opportunity for the public to react. And this report has not been written entirely by staff. It's written a lot by consultants. In fact, you read the language of the report, you can see the consultants coming through. I just wanted to mention two things. Sam Austin, Councillor Austin, wrote a reply to one of the people asking for time, and Mr. Austin said, this standing committee isn't the end of the line for the plan. It will still go to council as a whole, and there'll be more time than just this week for folks to review and request changes for council to consider. This is kind of a part of the role of the standing committee. They serve at least as a test run on the subject before it heads for council as a whole. Sam was a student of mine in Howard when he was at planning school, and he got planning law from the two of us. The other reply that I wanted just to mention came from Mr. Lyndall Smith. He said the process for the master plan on the Common is the same as for every other report that comes to every other committee. Also, this is a standing committee of council, so there are still future meetings that will give residents an opportunity to provide feedback. We understand that this is a larger report, but the process is the same as for all other reports. And that is unfortunately true. This council and every member, every meeting, they treat every report as the same. And you're given 5 minutes as the public to respond to whether it's a little side yard extension or a very 100 pages of report related to the proposed master plan, which is marked on the cover, incidentally, as the final report. And this is not, in our view, the final report. There are 2.5 years of non-consultation to be made up, and the same problem occurred with the center plan. Huge document, 5 minutes to speak, and I would challenge councillors to find very many incidents at all where one thing finally gets to council and goes to a formal public hearing, any changes of significance have been made. The changes of significance are made during the public participation, of which we've had none for 2.5 years, and they're made, in my view, at the standing committee. So I am endorsing entirely what Mr. Epstein put forward, and I do thank the opportunity to make my views known, and I'll respond to any questions if there are any.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ruffman, appreciate that. Our next speaker on the list is Tristan Black. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. My name is Tristan Black. I'm from Halifax, and I'm the past president of the Board of Directors of Halifax Lancers, just as of Sunday. And thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here as a representative of Lancers who for 85 years have put blood, sweat, and tears into the serving the people of Halifax through horses. We offer many free public events and serve many people across various parts of the city. Our physical and mental health programming is diverse and reaches individuals from ages 6 to 80, and that's true. From a variety of backgrounds and abilities. Through our sport and recreation programs and activities, we empower youth, primarily young females. We teach leadership and foster a sense of connection within the city. As Lancers, we do wish to see this plan move forward, as improvements to the Halifax Common are clearly needed for the mental and physical health of all citizens. We've shared our position with you directly and also in an open letter, which we encourage you all to read. We appreciate the common ground that the staff has struck. However, this plan, as presented, remains flawed for 5 reasons. The plan continues issues that were raised in 2019 and jeopardizes our operations. The accessibility of the only entrance has been removed. This obviously impacts all of our programming for people with disabilities. There's a potential threat that this may push us into non-compliance with provincial accessibility standards and legislation under development. The plan does not provide adequate space for an 18-wheeler truck to bring our shavings, weekly hay, and our weekly manure removal. It also does not allow space to load and unload trailers for horse transportation, all of which undermine our ability to provide for the welfare of the horses. The shape of the outdoor arena, as presented, does not lend itself to the proper dimensions for equestrian sport. The design, particularly the location of the greenhouses, does not allow for our proposed growth. And Lancers has not been given the same consideration as other tenants on this part of the Halifax Common. The second area that is concerning to us that came from 2019 is that there's a continued significant disregard for accessibility. There's no apparent consideration of the built environmental standards currently under development as part of Nova Scotia's accessible legislation. Lancers is determined to become more accessible to and reflective of the diversity among Nova Scotians, not less. We acknowledge the staff report that a detailed plan of the Wanderers Block is required. However, the same sentiment isn't in the plan itself. The plan mischaracterizes our not-for-profit organization. The plan characterizes Lancers in a manner that could be prejudicial to you in the Standing Committee and the public. Lancers is a not-for-profit society registered with the Societies Act. This document also notes that Lancers is contemplating growth to expand its membership. This is incorrect. Lancers is certainly contemplating and has requested growth, but with the primary aim of expanding its ability to deliver therapeutic and mental health programming, not solely membership. Lancers is prepared to raise its own funds for this purpose through our supporters who support our mission. Growth will also enable us to move forward with our equity and diversity and inclusion priorities. Number 5, there's a fundamental lack of understanding of how we need to grow. The area that is circled on the drawings, page 150, is not adequate. It is the whole of the Wanderers Block that is subject to a more detailed plan. Again, we want a successful common master plan that serves all of the people of Halifax. Therefore, we're asking you, as our representatives, to make the following changes to the plan. Include what is outlined in the staff covering letter: extensive collaboration, opportunities for further talk and planning, and appreciation of our needs and history and future goals. Correct the phrasing on page 145, which to accurately reflect our organization. For the drawn circle on the architectural drawings on page 150, we want it to encompass the whole of the Wanderers Block, or remove the architectural drawings altogether because they illustrate a problematic plan for us, or put in new architectural drawings that include the vision for growth that we clearly represented to city staff in 2019. There seems to be a lack of appreciation of the value of these horses bring to the people of Halifax. The benefits of horses are far-reaching beyond the act of riding a horse. If the sport was our only concern, it would be akin to saying, why would anyone want to be around a dog if they weren't practicing agility or pulling a sled? The horses of Halifax bring a gift to the city by allowing the people to interact with powerful prey animals that touch our souls and support the mental health of our citizens. For 85 years, the horses in this city have made Halifax unique in Canada. Councillors, in closing, we respectfully implore you to request further consultation with the stakeholders, including Lancers. We wish to work collaboratively with HRM, the Wanderers, the Lawn Bowling Club, to make this part of the Halifax Common, which has been historically used for sport, a showstopper of an urban athletic green park that has horses, soccer, lawn bowling, and a green parkway that everyone can enjoy. With your support, we can bring this vision to life. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And if you could just hold on for just a quick minute, we do have some councillors with questions. Councillor Austin, you go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. And I suspect when staff come up, we'll get to hear a little bit more about this particular dynamic there. I know, we've all been getting the emails. I enjoyed when, I think when this was last kind of part of public discussion, I enjoyed coming in and getting a firsthand tour of the place myself. I'm just wondering at this stage, where the report dropped on Friday, and then we've had the weekend and just a few days now to bring us to today. Are you aware, has the Lancers had the chance to actually discuss, that covering staff recommendation and the report with our staff?
Yesterday, I had a chat with Nalini Naidu, who's on your staff, and she discussed that those plans that were put into the report and reflect all the problems of 2019 had to be in there because it was part of what the consultant presented.
Okay. So that hasn't changed any reassurance on that end from staff hasn't changed any of the position then that you have today?
No, because it's in a final report, and it reflects the fact that our parking lot has been taken away. Our children can't access our front. We only have one entrance. Everything else is exits, and so children with disabilities and people with disabilities can't get into the barn.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's it for me. My next questions will be on the staff presentation.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Hi, Tamsin. Nice to see you again. And I also had the pleasure of going on that tour, and I recommend it to everyone. It's fantastic. My question was just around the piece of membership expansion. And if I remember correctly, there was quite a waiting list for your services. And I don't remember the numbers, but could you just tell us, just for our information, how many people are on the waiting list to access your services? And what is the time of waiting for one of those openings to be opened?
Currently, we have over 1,000 people on a wait list. Now, that is divided between people who want to join the junior beginner course, which would be people who are 8, 9, 10 years old. Could be adults waiting to get in. It also is for our therapeutic riding program. And the wait list for that program is long because there's only certain times of the week that we can offer therapeutic riding because the ring is busy with our other programs all day. So our barn our indoor arena runs from 3:30 in the afternoon till 10 o'clock every night, Monday to Friday.
Mm-hmm. And if someone on that waiting list a spot would open up, I remember there were years?
It would be years. Right now, if you wanted to join the junior beginner program as an 8-year-old, it would be, let me turn around. How many years? You'd be about 24 years old. You'd be about 24 years old when you were able to get in.
Okay, I remember being shocked by that.
Yes, because we can only take 8 children a year in our beginner program. It's only safe to have 8 horses in that indoor arena at one point in time.
Okay.
That's what people don't understand. In order to be in that program, you can only have 8 horses in the arena.
Right. Okay, Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. So no other questions of clarification. I thank you very much for your time here this afternoon, Ms. Black. And just wondering now if there are any further speakers in the gallery. That's the end of our list of registered speakers, but if there is anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone else who wishes to speak? Third and final call, anyone else who wishes to speak? All right. Thank you very much. That's the end of our public participation. And we will now move on to item number 11, Information.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just neglected to mention, we do briefly have to check the phones, just to see if there are any members, but we can do
Terribly
that quickly.
sorry. The floor is yours, sir. Check the phones and see if we have anybody lined up.
I'm just providing, this is Simon Rossi, legislative assistant. I'm just putting a service call to anyone who is on the phone intending to speak as part of public participation for the standing committee meeting for CPED for December 8th, 2021. If you are on the line, please unmute by pressing *6 and, sorry, that is *7 and speaking to the community council. You would have 5 minutes. Making a call for members on the phone now. This is another last announcement. And a third last announcement. I believe we have no speakers on the phone.
Perfect. Thank you so much for checking. Appreciate that. So then that is the closing of our public participation for this meeting. We now move on to item number 11, information items brought forward. There are none. And now item 12.1.1 under reports. And this is the International Partnerships update, and we do have a staff presentation on this. Hello, welcome.
Thank you very much.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm Nancy Phillips. I'm VP of Investment and International Partnerships with the Halifax Partnership, for those of you that don't know me. And I am here today to give you a presentation on, is that supposed to be up on the screen? There, on Portsmouth, UK. So there you go. Everybody can see the beautiful photo of Portsmouth now. So HRM and other municipalities around the world create partnerships with other cities and regions to celebrate cultural links, solve problems, deliver services, and build business connections. And HRM's work in this area is guided by an administrative order 2014-003-Gov. The policy defines 3 categories of formal partnerships between the municipality and international communities. 2 of the categories are non-economic in nature. 1 is friendship partnership agreements, which are based on cultural, historic relationships between HRM and other communities. HRM has friendship partnerships currently with Hakodate in Japan, Campeche in Mexico, and Norfolk in Virginia. Council most recently approved a friendship agreement in 2019 with Gdynia, Poland as well. HRM also has historic partnerships. An existing economic or friendship partner of Halifax will be reclassified as a historic partnership when there's no contact between partner cities for a period of longer than 1 year, or when either city opts to end a formal agreement. The following are previous relationships that have remained inactive for more than 5 years. Calderdale in the United Kingdom, Sherbrooke in Quebec, and Freetown in Sierra Leone. Each category of international partnership entails a different level of scrutiny and involvement. Economic partnerships. Economic partnerships are managed currently by the Halifax Partnership, and more time is devoted to maintaining and building the relationship both with the other cities and with our business community. The Mayor's office often plays a crucial role in moving these relationships forward. HRM's current economic partnerships are with Aberdeen in Scotland and Zhuhai in China. For close to 15 years, the Halifax Partnership has also been managing 18 informal relationships underneath the World Energy Cities Partnership, of which Halifax is a member, and Mayor Savage was the president for 2 terms for 4 years. So I'm here today to tell you and ask for your interest in moving forward a new relationship with Portsmouth in the United Kingdom. So a little bit of background. The city of Portsmouth is part of what is known as the Greater Solent region in the south of the United Kingdom. The Solent region is an economic hub and partnership between the Isle of Wight, the cities of Portsmouth and Southampton, and key players in the United Kingdom. Together, its population is estimated at 1.25 million. The Solent region is home to several major ports, including the deepwater port of Southampton and the very historic port of Portsmouth. It's strategically positioned on the English Channel. Together, these two ports handle more than 18 million tons of cargo annually. The region is a major trade hub for the UK and is serviced by the very close Southampton Airport. The Solent region is also home to major universities and colleges, including the University of Southampton, Solent University, and the University of Portsmouth. Portsmouth is very heavily involved in shipbuilding, naval defense, and transportation, sectors in which the Halifax Partnership does have a focus for its investment attraction, business attraction efforts. BAE Systems, one of the world's largest defense companies, employs 2,500 people in Portsmouth. It also provides ship management, repair, and maintenance to the Royal Navy. Similarly, Southampton is known for its maritime and logistics industries, but also provides opportunities in health, education, and the finance sectors. HRM does not have an existing international partnership with the south of the United Kingdom. The Halifax Partnership's assessment, which we do for every city that comes to us or that we engage with, of the Solent region is attached in your staff report, and from our perspective, it's very favorable. HRM and Portsmouth are similar in size and both have major airports and those similar industries. A formal connection between HRM and Portsmouth is a bridge to the larger economic area. Furthermore, formalizing an economic partnership with Portsmouth aligns with the province of Nova Scotia's focus and our focus on furthering relationships to deepen our ocean technology sector and opportunities post-Brexit for new business-to-business partnerships. The City of Portsmouth and Halifax Partnership began discussing the potential of formalizing a partnership agreement in 2019. There were plans to visit Portsmouth in March of 2020, but it had to be postponed last minute due to the growing COVID restrictions. In February 2021, a very successful virtual trade mission was organized by Halifax Partnership and the Economic Development Department within the City of Portsmouth. It was co-hosted by Mayor Savage and Gerald Vernon, the leader of Portsmouth City Council. Presentations were made by both naval base commanders, post-secondary, and our innovation leaders. As well, we had businesses from both regions participate in a follow-up B2B session. Following this, some early priorities have been identified, which include relevant university meetings, an application by the University of Portsmouth for funding to facilitate student exchanges. Further virtual business sessions, including innovation, have been prioritized. The Halifax Partnership has also undertaken digital marketing campaigns in the region to raise our profile within their ocean sector community. On June 22nd, 2021, Portsmouth City Council authorized that a formal sister city link be established with HRM. Such a partnership is part of Portsmouth's plan to foster greater economic ties with Commonwealth countries post-Brexit. So in closing, we think that this relationship would serve Halifax really well, and HRM. Thank you. And I'll take any questions if there are any, Ms. Chair.
Lovely, thank you very much. And I neglected to mention that Wendy Luther from the partnership is with us. Always welcome here at Council. Lovely to see you in person. And we do have some questions. Councillor Lovelace.
Thank you. Did you want me to put the motion on the floor, Madam Chair?
You know what? We're in this deep. You might as well. Let's do that.
Let's just do that. I move that Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Halifax Regional Council, 1, establish an economic partnership with Portsmouth, England, 2, authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to negotiate and the Mayor to execute an economic partnership agreement with Portsmouth, consistent with the discussion section of the July 29th, 2021 report, and for a term not to exceed 5 years, and 3, adopt the proposed amendments to Administrative Order 2014-003 Gov respecting international partnerships as set out in Attachment D of the July 29th, 2021 report.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Cuddle, thank you.
Thank you so much for this presentation. It's always so interesting to, see the connections that we have and the similarities with communities. And in England in particular, as we celebrate the Queen's 70th anniversary, it's just really exciting to think about the opportunities with the ocean sector, the similarities that we have with military, shipbuilding and so on. And I just was interested that in your report, one of the things that I didn't see was the deep military connection that we have with regards to D-Day in particular, and the proximity of Portsmouth to Dieppe. And I was just wondering if you are aware of any commemorations in Portsmouth or any sort of recognition within that city of the military, of the Canadian military connection, or actions during World War II.
Personally, I'm not, but I do know that our military has a very close relationship with Portsmouth. Captain Sean Williams, our base commander here, was in Portsmouth recently, provided him with an update, and so he may be more familiar, but he's very supportive of this relationship as well, I think because of the deep ties.
And that's, I guess, what I was looking for, just to see whether or not there was a recognition, and if you had that conversation, or staff has had that conversation with military members to recognize the deep connection that they have with Portsmouth. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
All right, thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. And just to follow up on your comments, Deputy Mayor Lovelace, in the minutes for their cabinet meeting, they do mention the connection. This is for, goodness, I'm having a mind blank. Portsmouth. They do mention the connection of the military, specifically the Navy, in their city. So that's so I'm happy you brought that up. So for me, I guess the one question I have is, it looks like really the focus is on the economic connection between the two cities and how we could build those relationships. So I'm just wondering if, with the conversations that you've had so far, what do they envision those could potentially be? I know there's probably more conversations needed, but just some of the initial thoughts of what those connections in relationships would be. The other one, I think, is we have a unique opportunity as well, because looking at why they have asked for us to create the relationship, we could also, as the diverse city that we are, the history that we have with many different communities, I think there's an opportunity for us to also share with them and broaden it to, rather than looking at the naval connection, rather than looking at the what's similar of our cities, there's also the differences that could bring some great opportunities as well. Like even thinking of the road to economic prosperity, that is something that I don't know what groups are within Portsmouth that are historic or not, but sharing that type of information with them could be another opportunity to look at other ways of economic drivers. So just hoping that could be, if this passes, that could be something that is looked at as what are we not talking about that are not similar that could be beneficial to both cities. And the other one is just really what are some of the conversations that are being had with potential connection with the economic driver piece.
Thank you for your question. So I would say from a Portsmouth perspective, they're quite interested to learn from us around the work that we're doing in building our innovation district and our vibrant innovation ecosystem here. They have what's known as a creative hub and a creative industries, but it's really in its infancy, and I think they're very eager to explore that best practice that I feel we have here in terms of innovation. From our perspective, you know, we've had early conversations. We have yet to actually physically be in Portsmouth, so everything has been virtual to date. We've had some very early good conversations with BAE because we're quite interested in understanding who the supply chain would be for BAE and hoping to connect with some of those companies. BAE, which is British Aerospace,
Okay.
And they're part of the work that's going on here with Irving Shipbuilding in building the next generation of naval warships. So we're quite keen to see if we can explore some business opportunities that would be connected through BAE. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Smith. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nancy. Nice to meet you. I really enjoyed reading this report. It was interesting. I didn't know that we had economic partnerships or even friendship partnerships with other jurisdictions, so that was very good to find out. I just had some questions around the recommendations just to understand why they are there. So one of the recommendations is for this economic partnership to last no longer than 5 years, and I was just wondering why 5 years? Is that, do all of the partnerships have a 5-year term? And why is that? And then the other question was the recommendation on removing the cap, the number of partnerships, economic partnerships that HRM is allowed to enter into. And just wondering, is there a risk in removing the cap? Is there a risk of becoming burdened by the responsibilities involved in a partnership, or what was the reason the cap was there in the first place, and what would be the benefit of removing it? So just trying to understand those recommendations.
Thank you. I think the 5-year number is there because people change, and sometimes if you have a formalized partnership but nothing's happening, you want to have a mechanism to maybe move it to a different category, and that's not to say that you wouldn't renew it after 5 years or before 5 years. I think it's important to ensure that, you know, what's laid out in the agreement stays fresh as well, so you may want to just adjust it. So I don't think it's
fluid.
It's fluid.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
go. And just on the caps, the removal of the cap.
Yeah, so I think from a friendship perspective, you know, those are easier relationships to manage, so I don't think there should be a cap on friendship, but I think when it comes to economic partnerships, it's not that we're going to go out and create a whole bunch, but because there's only so much budget too, we have to respect budget and resources. And so to remove the cap, it just gives us greater flexibility.
Okay, so for the economic partnerships, the cap, you're recommending to remove that to have more flexibility?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor Purdy. Seeing no further speakers on the board, what is the will of committee? Question has been called for. This is a recorded vote, Mr. Clerk?
No, Madam Chair, we
Nope.
can
All
go
right.
by way of show of arms.
Perfect, thank you. No further question has been called for. All those in favor? Aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? All right, motion carried. Thank you very much. Looking forward to our new relationship with Portsmouth. Thank you. All right, our next item is item 12.1.2, the Halifax Common Master Plan, and we do have a staff presentation for that as well. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome.
Thank you. Here, I'll just get this presentation up. Okay, it's ready to be presented. Okay, there. Thank you. My name is Carol Koziak Roberts, and I'm with Policy and Planning with Parks and Recreation. So today I'm going to do a presentation of an overview of the Halifax Common Master Plan that will include a summary of the planning process and the community engagement, how the master plan is structured, its contents and approach, highlights of the master plan that are relevant to current initiatives with the municipality, and then kind of concluding with strategies for each of the municipal parkland areas. So the Halifax Common Master Plan is a guiding document for the management of open space within the Halifax Common. The master plan acknowledges that the Halifax Common lands are located in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Mi'kmaq people. It was established as a common in 1763 and has been an important place in the community for almost 260 years. It's centrally located in the Halifax Peninsula, and the whole area occupies approximately 95 hectares, stretching from Kennard Street down to South Street, and from Roby Street to North Park Street and South Park Street. And for the purposes of this plan, the open space on the western slopes of Citadel Hill are also regarded as an associated area. So the master planning process, in the fall of 2017, the municipality hired a consultant team to help develop the master plan for the Halifax Common. The project was managed through Parks and Recreation with a technical team of staff from other business units. The project brought together a wide range of disciplines to look at open space planning through a number of different lenses, including recreation, cultural heritage, integrated mobility, and the environment. The purposes of the plan was to affirm or reassess the guiding principles of the 1994 Halifax Common Plan to reflect present-day conditions, to align the decisions within the municipality's strategic initiatives and values, and to identify reinvestment priorities and long-term objectives for the municipality-owned parkland. The community engagement process involved over 3,000 people. There were 2 phases, with the first phase focusing on collecting feedback to help inform the development of the draft plan. And the second phase was to share the draft plans and to begin to test ideas with the community. Consultations for the first phase took place during the winter and spring of 2018. And consultation for the second phase of the public engagement was conducted during the summer of 2019 and entailed public consultations of the various concepts and directions within the draft plan. So this graph represents the results of the online survey that was hosted through Shape Your City from June 17th to July 22nd, 2019. There were about 1,213 people who participated in this survey. Key elements of the draft plan were presented, and people were asked to indicate sort of their level of support or opposition to each of the components of the plan based on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 was completely opposed and 10 was completely support. And it was also followed by open-ended question where they had the opportunity to describe what they liked or disliked or felt was missed within the plan. So the green shades on the left represent the support to complete support of a rating of 7 to 10. The gray shades are moderate support and of 5 or 6, and then the orange shades represent the opposed to a complete oppose of the plan. So during the 2019 engagement, the support for the plan was favorable. However, there was a notable number of people who indicated opposition, and these concerns sort of focused around 2 primary areas, which was reducing the number of ball fields and the impact to minor league baseball, and also from the Halifax Lancers community over concerns of of how the paddock and the parking were depicted in that plan. Although addressed later in the presentation, I just wanted to highlight that these were fully considered within the plan. With regard to the ball field reduction, the plan continues to suggest this to occur. This need was highlighted, during the pandemic when there was significant general public use, particularly on the North Common, when there was no sort of booking of fields at that time. But it also the plan calls for this to be implemented with the provision of other fields. With regards to the Halifax Lancers and the other Wanderers Blocks uses, the plan specifically calls for a separate detailed plan to be developed. So the master plan outlines a 3-tier framework. So the first tier is a vision statement, vision goals, and guiding principles. And this describes the aspirations and values captured during the development of the master plan. And in the report, this is Chapter 3. The second tier is district-wide policy directions. And this is where we consider open space for the entire area of the Halifax Common. And that's contained in Chapter 4. And in Chapter 4, there are policy directions that are guiding statements to be considered when evaluating or undertaking projects or management decisions. And then the third tier are the municipal land strategies in Chapter 5. And these go into more site-specific detail and include design and programming guidance for the municipal parkland. And these are recommendations for future capital improvements and considerations for further investigations. And included in Chapter 5 are illustrative plans, and these are intended to be aids to visualize the prospective improvements of the municipal open space, but they are seen as conceptual in nature and subject to change, so they're not final plans. There are also actions throughout the report, throughout the document, for both the district-wide policies and the municipal land strategies. And actions either outline how policies may be implemented or direct programs or projects to improve open space. So this is the vision statement, which is a synthesis of sort of all the various planning inputs and describes sort of a shared aspiration for the future of the Halifax Common. There are 6 vision goals, which broadly defined the aims or intentions to which further elaborate the vision. And they're around, themes of recreation and mobility, public life, culture, cultural heritage, identity, healthy environments and well-being. And then we have the guiding principles, which act sort of as a core foundation, and they characterize kind of the essence and what is held in value for the Halifax Common. And all of these were derived from a synthesis of community and stakeholder input and municipal priorities. So next, I'll just touch on some of the master plan highlights. So the scope of the master plan covers a wide range of issues, and there are some key elements that I'll highlight on their relevance to current initiatives. So the first one is considering the Halifax Common as a district. So this is, retention of municipal open space and institutional uses, retaining the park-like setting of the Halifax Common that distinguishes it from the remainder of the city, having streetscapes with generous building setbacks, wide sidewalks, mature trees, and also looking at the edges and the entrances into the district. Next is the need for joint planning. So we have an MOU with the province that has open space objectives to follow. And one of these is the establishment of a new public space along South Park Street with the Victoria General Hospital. So considerations of the MRU are important as the province is now undertaking major hospital redevelopment. Mobility planning. There's a lot of formal, informal pathways on the North Common that need improvement, and there are several initiatives underway for active transportation bikeway connections. And so looking at doing those improvements and continuing to develop plazas at key intersections to create that welcoming park experience. Less structured recreation. This is looking at how the open space on the common is used and providing for more unstructured activities. The 1994 plan recommended a rationalization of the ball diamonds, and we're continuing to look at that to be phased in with the provision of other fields within the city. The Wanderers block, we're calling for more detailed planning considerations. There's at present there are a lot of pieces and changes that are happening this, and it really needs to more collaborative look. The area that had been highlighted here is sort of an area of very limited space that has a lot of competing interests, and so there needs to be more work done in that area that will be brought forward. And heritage planning is, there's heritage designation initiatives through a cultural landscape perspective that will be forthcoming through the Culture and Heritage Priorities Plan, or Sharing Our Stories. So finally, the municipal land strategies. So this is looking at these illustrative plans. This is just a perspective that was done, and of the Central Common and the North Common, and you can kind of see sort of what the plans, how they begin to change as we are getting into some detailed design. So the North Common, some key directions that are coming from that is sort of bringing in more unstructured green space or a common lawn to that, looking at revitalizing the Centennial Fountain area, bringing in more trees and naturalization, communal gardens. And so it's really starting to bring the common and looking at it as a multi-purpose park. For the Central Common, there's the outdoor aquatic facility replacement, also looking at the playground replacement, looking at updating the skate park, the older part, looking at a redesign for that, converting the ball diamond for slow pitch, which is used mostly on the common, and also improving the sport field and adding drop-in programming. For the Wanderers grounds, further collaborative planning is required with all the stakeholders, looking at trying to look at the public use of that block. There's the need to modernize the greenhouses and consolidate the park's depot yards, update all the recreation facilities, looking at updates for all those, and consolidating parking and circulation so there's an ability to have more land available for the recreation activities. For Camp Hill, we're looking at, conservation management plans, site interpretation and signage plans, looking at site amenity improvements, and possibly further investigations for lighting and nighttime access. The public gardens, looking at periodic review of the conservation management plans, balancing the public use with the maintenance of horticulture and cultural assets, and a framework for site interpretation, communications, and volunteer support. And finally, for Victoria Park, circulation and accessibility improvements, revitalizing the fountain area, looking at tree lawn and planting bed improvements, opportunities for festive winter lighting, and entrance plaza treatments. So there are two recommendations at present. One, to repeal the Halifax Common Plan and adopt the master plan, and also to direct the CAO to undertake periodic reviews at least every 5 years on the master plan for any updates. So that concludes my presentation, and we'd be able to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just looking for the recommendation to read. I'm all tangled up here. Goodness gracious. All these masks. All right. I'll put the motion on the floor that it's recommended that Community Planning and Economic Development Standing Committee recommend that Regional Council, 1, repeal the 1994 Halifax Common Plan to adopt the Halifax Common Master Plan as contained in Attachment A as a guiding document for open space planning management and development within the Halifax Common, and 2, direct the CAO to undertake periodic reviews at least every 5 years of the master plan for any updates.
All right, do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Cottle. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, and thank you to the whole team. I know this was a huge undergoing for many, many years, so appreciate it being here today, and still lots of work to be done. And this is the first stage of it. So I'm not going to get too deep into the report itself, because what I will be asking for, and I've talked to committee members about this, is us deferring this until next meeting, a decision. Just to give us more time. I know as one of the area councilors, I've only read half of the report, so it'll be good to get a more understanding of that. But I'll say a few things just for I guess some public and also stakeholders. So anytime we get reports that we use consultants for, and if you want to elaborate on this, you can. The consultants report is somewhat of a, as we've said here, a guiding document. So we use the reports because we don't have sometimes the resources to do all the work, and we use their documents to help guide us in how we move forward. And as you said in the report, I think it's, what page is it? Our staff report, the end of page 6, I won't read it word for word, but what it says is we will continue to approach this as, and then create a detailed planning document that will engage the stakeholders and other folks. And again, I'm paraphrasing. So what we see in the consultant's report is actually not what HRM is going to use as our final go-to. We'll use that as a guiding document, but there's still lots of work to be done, and I hope that we can provide further clarification and further understanding that what is in the report is not going to be the final thing that we'll see, and I hope that will create some, I guess, support's not the word I'm looking for stakeholders. The other piece as well is, I know that we put money already in the budget for the pool, and is that a project that's approved already, and we'll be moving forward with that before the master plan is adopted?
Go ahead.
Madam Chair, to the councillor, yes, the pool, the aquatic pool has been approved, and actually the detailed design is starting, so it is underway.
Okay. So there's much more that I could say, but I want to make sure that I have all my questions when I get to read the full report. So I'll leave it here. It's great work. There's still lots of work to be done. Even if we were to adopt this today, you'd be going back and doing some more detailed work with stakeholders and other folks. And from now, and I'll put the motion of deferral on the floor, if we could defer this decision of this until next. Actually, should I wait to do that so folks can ring in?
Yeah, we do have a couple of other speakers who might have questions of clarification.
So I'll come back and do that?
Yeah, when the board is clear, I'll come back
right.
and you can table that motion. All right.
All right,
Sounds
so
good.
I'll finish my comments when I do the deferral. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor, and first, my apologies. I've been calling you Councillor Lovelace all afternoon, even though the sign is right there at eye level. Deputy Mayor
Totally
Lovelace.
fine. Thank you, that's totally fine. I'm still not used to it. Really, the only benefit is that it gets my kids to clean their room. So Deputy Mayor says clean your room.
How did you manage that? Because that got me absolutely nothing.
Right. So thank you so much. I appreciate this report. I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into it. It's been an all hands on deck to kind of get us to this point. And certainly, I can appreciate that in my previous life as a planner, not as a city planner, but as a project manager and planning. It's just all those moving parts. I am very grateful to all the comments that we've had from members of the public. This is such a good opportunity to have this report at this committee, to have these discussions. I do have to ask, though, I think it was a few months ago when we launched, I think it was in the spring, perhaps, that we launched our playing field strategy. We have launched our aquatic strategy. We've got all these other different strategies on the go, and I'm just trying to figure out how all those pieces actually fit into this, since they're not done yet. And so I'm a little concerned that we are putting the cart before the horse, and that we don't yet have that full big picture. And thank you, Councillor Smith, for putting that forward, because if you had not, I would have. I do think we need to just hold our horses. So if you could just speak to me a little bit about the timing of what we can expect with regards to all of those strategies, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, welcome, Mr. Harvey, sir.
Hi, Richard Harvey, Manager of Policy and Planning, and thanks for the question to provide an update. So, Madam Chair, we've done the aquatic strategy, so that's good, and we're implementing that. So we've got good priorities, and Council's given us good priorities in which to implement things. The aquatics on the common is it was a separate part of consultation. It was a separate report, and Council gave their direction unanimously to move forward with that. So as Carol mentioned, that's now in detailed design and is excitedly underway to be implemented. That falls within the entire aquatic strategy itself, so it's noted as part of that puzzle. We're currently, as a group, undertaking the playing field strategy to bring back to Council. Internally, we're working on the final bits of that, and then we'll package that up into a more comprehensive document. We'll do some internal reviews. That'll be put forward to Council, like our other plans, for consideration. How that works with regards to this plan is that we have identified, for example, and it's a long-standing identification, as Carol mentioned, all the way back to 1994, to rationalize the playing fields that are there. They're all softball fields. It's a collection, I think, as even Mr. Ruffman kindly observed, they've been there for a while. The idea around it, and we really got an interesting perspective that we would have never been able to get, and the only silver lighting of the actual pandemic was to see how the common was actually used without scheduled play. Yep. We saw that it was greatly used by people. It was, astonishing to see how it was actually used for a whole variety of different things. So, but what this plan does is it indicates that any consideration of a rationalization of any of those playing fields needs to take place through strategies such as the playing field strategy. So this isn't a one-off, it's not an instant. So when Council actually sees the playing field strategy come forward, it's not going to have all the answers, but it's going to have some of the directions that then tie in with this plan. So that the two are intermingled. And I've given you a very long-winded explanation, but hopefully that sort of gives you an indication of how they tie in together.
No, I can really appreciate that. Absolutely. I know you've got a lot of moving parts. There's a big puzzle to put together. I think one of the things that I'm hearing from the public is that looking at this plan as a final plan, I think gave a little bit of a sort of a lack of clarity, because it's not a final plan. It's certainly a final plan, I guess, as far as the consultant's concerned. They did their job, but we still have a lot of work ahead of us to do. So thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Cuttle.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, staff, and thank you to the participants who presented earlier with your thoughts and suggestions regarding this plan. You know, one of the things that I find really difficult is the process and kind of in terms of receiving giant reports like this and then bringing them forward to public and not being not giving enough time for the public to digest the information or for council, and knowing that deferring, you know, we have the option to defer. That is something, that is a tool we can use to provide more time for reviewing reports. But that's not always clear on the onset as a, you know, as an option, and also it leaves a lot of questions about how community council, or how, CEPED might choose to use that deferral or extend the time for the public to review a document. And it's something I would like to see change, particularly on projects that do have extensive stakeholder engagement, because it's often those stakeholders who bring a lot of passion, a lot of knowledge, and have a vested interest in things happening in our city. And I think we're all better for their participation, and it's only respectful to provide them with the time to be able to review a document and provide that valuable feedback from kind of, you know, from the beginning, like from the beginning of when a report is brought back. You know, the other thing I want to talk about was the things that have changed since this project was initiated. And I know in planning, we're constantly working in real time and changing circumstances and shifting sands. You know, there's not much we can do about that, and we can't stop the clock on everything to get it all perfect. But, you know, since this was initiated, we did have the center plan A and B, the open, as Deputy Mayor Lovelace was saying, the, you know, field strategy, aquatic strategy. You know, my interest is also in looking at the open space network and how the plan is going to fit into the open space network in the center plan. We also had COVID, right? So when I look at the use of the field, it was extraordinary to see how the commons was used without program play, but that was during lockdown, and it's also been interesting to see since we don't have lockdown, you know, kind of how that's shifted again. And so I think, you know, continued observation around that is required. And also I want to note that the cricket, it's the only cricket field in HRM in Nova Scotia. Only cricket field, and do we have other cricket fields in Nova Scotia? Yeah. Certainly in HRM. Yeah, I was amazed. Charlottetown has 3 cricket fields, FYI. I thought that was interesting. But anyway, it is our only cricket field, which is important, because and that kind of shows the change in demographics and people wanting to use the common. I think the Cricket Association also has a list of 500 people waiting to get into that league to play cricket, and there's just not available fields. So, you know, things do change. And I guess my question here is about, you know, the detailed design and the next steps moving forward, and how we take this final plan, which is the consultant's final plan, not our final plan. And we've noted that, you know, we will be using this to go ahead and complete detailed planning and design. But I think one of the big concerns that comes up for the public is that it's like every time you see something maybe not right in the conceptual plans, it's like one step further down the road to something continuing to be not considered, right? So I think it's really important for us to lay out what the next steps are in terms of consultations, in terms of detailed design, where the priorities are going to be placed. And I just want to say, you know, as for the Lancers and the Wanderers, you know, that is an interesting kind of conflict of use that is happening there by people wanting to use our commons for more structured activities, but how are we going to resolve that and move forward? Like, where is the thinking of staff right now on the future of resolving those conflicts?
All right, thank you very much.
So, Madam Chair, happy to hear the question because it gives us an opportunity to further emphasize the plans that we've also included in this presentation. In the plan, we've been very careful to highlight them as illustrative plans, and we're very careful in the plan and in the staff report itself to say these are simply some depictions of what something might look like, but albeit we know that that's not what they're going to look like at the end. It would be a very, very dull plan if we didn't do this, but it would also be almost impossible to actually do the open space planning in the amount of detail for the entire common. So you're seeing certain things on there, for example, the Wanderers block, where we fully know that that's not the way that we either envision it or we see it being implemented. To give you just an example of this, of a real example, what's interesting about the plan is it provides an illustrative diagram of the actual aquatic facility. Now, since that time, you as a council have approved an aquatic facility which looks different than what's in this particular plan, but that's because advanced and detailed designs have been done for that. What this plan highlights is that there is to be an aquatic facility that's already been approved by council, so we know that. The aspect on the Wanderers block is as much about what the design looks like, but it's actually what we've done is highlighted that it's not a design issue in its entirety, it's actually a programming issue. We've got a number of competing different ideas that need to be sorted out in that particular area. We've got our own public works depot, greenhouses, the long-standing and traditional uses of the lawn bowls, the Wanderers, and what we're highlighting in the plan is there are some things that need to be worked out associated with that, and also including our premier field. So there's an exercise that needs to take place, and because of those various different interests, that's been highlighted specifically as a next step in the plan.
And is there a timeline? Do you have any idea about when this work will commence?
It's going to be through our business plans, but I think what we had done, to be quite honest with you, I can't recall at this particular point in time, but I think we've been looking at somewhere within a couple of year horizon to sort of get started with that, but don't hold me to that.
Okay, so not next week.
Not next week, but certainly not being pushed out for a long period of time either.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cuttle. Councillor Austin.
Thank you, Ms. Chair, and I'm in favor of the suggested deferral on this. I know I haven't come close to reading this document. I've read the staff covering piece, and that was pretty much it. So I need more time, and I think the community and groups also need more time to do this properly. So I just as two observations. When I kind of think about the commons as open space, and it sounds like the one recommendation is there to come. I think the comment about the pandemic is bang on in terms of the overuse of ball fields in one place and crowding out other uses where more diversity of use in the common would be better to support the growing community around it. The other one, just a small aside, I know it comes into all sorts of questions of liabilities, but it'd be nice not to build fountains that need to be in jail, right, surrounded by fencing to keep you out. I always shake my head at that one. To go to the Wanderers piece, and thank you, Councillor Cuttle, for asking those questions. I think there's a lot of good in the answer there. The piece I'm just wondering is how do we bridge the gap, right? So we've got a community group there that has concerns with what they see in the official plan. We have the caveat that it's for illustration purposes only, and there's more detailed planning to come for that block. But that detailed planning is a ways off. Like, how do you can we actually correct anything in the consultant's report? I mean, they've submitted the report, it's done, or who actually owns that report? Like, can we change it, or do we put our stamp on it in that staff report recommendation?
The challenge with correcting any of it is where you start, where you stop. So what we've done is to highlight that there needs to be more detailed planning. So we've recognized that that's a point in time in which we went out for consultation. We fully understand that there are a whole variety of features that need more detailed planning around that, and that's where our start and stop is. So to actually change one element, we know the position with regards to, for example, the loading, offloading of certain things. We very much understand that. We also understand the lawn bowls has a facility that, probably needs replacement. We know that there are elements of the Public Works building, the Public Works facility that needs. So it's really a question of where we start, where we stop. So what we've done at this point is we've highlighted that we know that there are issues from a programming and design perspective that need now more detail. So that's where we kind of, at least put a line on a paper or a dashed circle that really is meant to be representative of the whole area.
So, and I just think of some of our other plans that we've done in the past. If this advances from here, council says, yes, this is our guiding plan, do you get a covering piece attached to that? Because I know if I go find the old Dartmouth Common Plan, right, all you find online is the Dartmouth Common Plan.
Yep.
You don't find that covering chunk of yes, this is the plan, but these things would have to be further explored, the iteration. That piece tends to go around. You have to really look for that. You'd have to go back to the council minutes where you can always find that plan. And then I think for some people in the community, if you're just Googling Halifax Common Plan and brought that up, that kind of nuance isn't necessarily going to be communicated. So I'm just wondering, how we manage that, just communicating that information so that, we don't create, the false expectation that this is exactly what we're going to build.
Madam Chair, I think when read in concert with the text materials of the plan, I suspect that your concern's going to be alleviated, and if it's not, then we would need to, yes, put some sort of cover on it. But I think in actual fact, read together, it gives that context. Certainly if you were to just look at a plan on its own, you could reach various different conclusions. But I think with the text that's in the plan and with the staff report, but even in the plan itself, I suspect that those concerns will be alleviated.
Okay, and some of that's on me because I have not read. I have not read it. It's too big. So I guess I'll just close for now, and I'll flip over to Councillor Smith for the deferral. My just thought would be that as these things get uploaded and stored online, I think we would be better served to make sure that whenever we're uploading these things, that we have that covering staff report in front of the plan, so that if someone Googles Halifax Common Plan, they're not just finding the plan devoid of that context, they're finding the plan with our covering staff report on top of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Purdy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you. Nice to see you in person. So you may have already answered this question, but I'm not really good at reading between the lines, and I kind of need a straight up answer. So my concern with the Lancers and the risk to their operational ability with the recommendations from the consultant, what guarantee do we have that their operations will not be jeopardized in any of the master plans going forward for that Wanderers block?
Who's going to take that?
I'm going to just stay consistent. The actual text within the plan itself, the staff report is very clear in indicating that there is detailed work that needs to be done. We've had, if you like, various different interests in that block to the extent that we know we have to do work in order to plan for the future of that block. So the representations that are in the illustrative plan, if you like, are not even a starting point for that. The starting point is actually working on that in collaboration with those groups in order to develop a final program, or not even a final program, but a program and a design that's going to work for that area. A lot of moving parts there. These are various different entities that are all looking for space. And there's also the more general public interest that we would need to keep in mind in all of that and being able to use those areas. But that's what I would state. I would state that if you look at the text, that's where I would go with it. And certainly that's the intent that's expressed within the staff report. And if we need to strengthen that in any way, then we will. But certainly that's the direction we're headed in.
Okay, so thank you. But I guess the term detailed work that still needs to be done with all the pressures of that small area, and everyone kind of wants a piece of that. How can we guarantee that moving forward, their operations will not be jeopardized? They will still be able to have that entry way. They will still be able to have that 18-wheeler come in once a week to do all of the necessary things that they need to do, running a horse stable right in the middle of downtown Halifax, which is historic and important in the work that they're doing there. So I guess the detailed work that still needs to be done, to me, doesn't give me a sense of security that they won't be touched. Because if there's another more pressing or louder or more, I don't know, just a voice that might get a little more attention might win out, and then the Lancers could be up the creek. So we don't want that to happen. We want to protect this historic entity in Halifax at all costs, in my opinion. So I guess if the wording needs to be stronger, I wouldn't even say stronger, I'd say just be straight up about this, that they will not, their operations will not be jeopardized in any way. How possible is that to put in the report?
Well, to the chair, I don't think we've expressed it in that particular way, but I can certainly say that there's been no intent to do anything other than to recognize the Lancers as a very important element, not just historically, but currently with the Commons. So there's been no intent in any of this to actually look at it in a way of doing just that, of sort of, recognizing that importance to Halifax. We've certainly heard that there are a variety of different things that need to be reconciled on here, but it's not been to lessen. It's actually been to try and sort out and improve with regards to a variety of competing interests.
Okay. Absolutely. Surely there's no intent to harm, but just in case, that layer of protection that I think Councillor Austin was talking about, but maybe not. That's what I was like, I was kind of getting that. But.
If it'll help Councillor Purdy,
Yeah.
I think that's what this deferral will do. It
Okay.
will allow that time for us to meet with the Lancers to find out
Right.
what it is they need,
Yeah.
so that,
Okay.
they're not impacted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, that's very
All right.
good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Lovelace.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually just want to reframe this a little bit, because I do want them impacted. I want them to grow. So, while we're talking about, we don't want them to be touched, we don't want them, to be in jeopardy. No, we want them to grow. They're providing a really important service. It's exceptional. So I do think that, we want to reframe this to the point where we're looking at every aspect of that empty space that's not being used efficiently or effectively, how we can use the Macintosh Depot more appropriately, how we can ensure that those 18-wheelers are going in there and that the children and the seniors and all of the folks are actually being serviced in that recreational therapy program. I'm a horse person. So I guess I just really wanted to reframe this. We've had horses in my family for generations. So thank you.
All right, and thank you. And Councillor Austin.
And I'll join in the framing mission here. I think we've heard from staff, if I can interpret there, we have more detailed planning work to come, right? And so that will come to council in the future. And then it'll be at council again, once you adopt a plan for budgeting, right, to actually then do the work. The Lancers are a very engaged group. If there's anything, they'll participate in the planning process. If there's anything that comes out of that planning process that's a recommendation that they don't like, we're going to hear about it. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say for, Councillor Purdy is the guarantee is us, right? That is our job, right? To then make a decision on plans that might have some competing interest in them, and to make sure that we're doing the best for everybody, right, in the space. So, I mean, that's ultimately our job. Councillor Smith had asked me, he had to pop out for police commission business, so he asked me if I would move the deferral. So, seeing no one else on that list, I'll put a motion on the floor to defer this until the rest of this until our next meeting.
All right, so we have a motion of deferral from Councillor Austin and seconded by Deputy Mayor Lovelace. Anybody to speak to that? Seeing none, the question has been called for. All those in favor of the deferral signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. All right, so that motion has been deferred, and we will see that. Now, we didn't put a specific time around that, so that will come back at the next meeting, Mr. Chair. All right, thank you very much. So we will see that at our next meeting in January. Thank you. So we're moving on now to item 12.2, members of standing committee. We have nothing there. 12.3, Community Design Advisory Committee, nothing. 12.4, nothing from the Heritage Advisory Committee this month either. We have no motions and no in-camera items. No added items as indicated from the clerk earlier. Item 16, notices of motion. Do we have any notices of motion from the floor? Seeing none, we've already done public participation, so item 18 is the date of our next meeting, January 20th, 2022, and we will now take a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn from Councillor Cuddle. Thank you very much, and thank you to the members of the public for joining us this afternoon. Appreciate it. Thank you.